remember I was 4 3/4 years old. I was the youngest of 4 kids in a family that went to Catholic church every Sunday in West Hollywood, California. One week, somehow my parents found out that President John F. Kennedy was going to be in town in Los Angeles, and he would be attending the Church of the Blessed Sacrament on Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills at a service on that coming Sunday. Well, being Catholics, Kennedy Democrats, and star seekers in Hollywood as well. That Sunday morning, instead of going to our normal church, St. Victor's on Holloway Drive, we drove that extra mile or so west into Beverly Hills to that church. The service was underway, and of course everyone was facing the altar except for me. Well, I was only 4 3/4. And I wanted to see the president when he came in to the church. Being that little, I could get away with not facing the altar. So I turned around in the pew in my black velvet shorts, when I heard the commotion at the back of the church. There he was, President Kennedy, with a couple of Secret Service men. They looked like secret agents on either side of him. He kneeled and he prayed into his hands, his eyes shut, and I watched him. I thought, he looks kind of like my dad. Both were Irish, handsome, square-faced, dark eyebrows, around the same age. JFK a little bit older, but oddly enough, they shared a birthday. Well, I watched John F. Kennedy in that church that Sunday morning in 1963. Some months later, just a few months later, I would be back at St. Victor's on a Friday morning when Sister Marie-Therese, the principal, would come over the loudspeaker in the classroom. I must have been in kindergarten. Just 5, just turned 5 the week before. Sister Marie-Therese came on the loudspeaker and she asked for everyone to say a prayer for the president, that he had been shot in Dallas, Texas. I remembered seeing the president in church that day, so I had a vivid idea of what he looked like. When she said that he had been shot in Texas, I imagined that he was walking down a dusty road, and some outlaw had come out from the saloon, maybe through the swinging doors, or maybe he was hiding behind a rock, or maybe he just rode up on a horse. But I think I imagined the outlaw behind a rock calling out, "Hey, Mr. President," just before he fired those shots. And the young president lay in the dust of an old western Texas town, like a cowboy movie. My birthday, as I said, was just a week before I turned 5. My birthday party had been postponed due to rain, and in fact was supposed to take place on that day after the shots were fired in Texas. But a funeral took place all weekend long in black and white on the television. People were crying. People were still and stoic. Everything came to a stop for the young Irish Catholic president who was shot down in Texas. A few minutes after Sister Marie-Therese made the first announcement, she made the second announcement. Please pray for President Kennedy's family, his wife, and his 2 children, and for his soul, as she announced that he had died from the gunshots. No one ever forgot where they were that day. I was just 5 years old, and I never forgot. Not too long ago, my friend Dana and I were watching some videotapes, press conferences of Kennedy's when he was president. He gave press conferences just about every week that he was president. No one since then has done that. He answered each question thoughtfully, as if he was doing his best to think through his answer. He gave intelligent answers, sometimes humorous, but mostly well considered, from the mind of someone who cared. We looked at each other, Dana and I. We thought, this was the president that we were supposed to have growing up. Things would have been so different. Many times I've thought about that day and President Kennedy. I've thought about what would have been different. I've thought about why he was killed. There have been movies made, there's been books written, there's been lots of speculation. There's been official reports that no one really believed. But it was as if it was too painful to really look any deeper. For many of us, looking back, it seemed to be a day where we lost control of our country. Almost like a coup took place. It feels like the work of the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower just warned us about has come into full power now. And that was the first strike in its war against the people of the United States. President Kennedy. He inspired a lot of people into action in his life and in his untimely death. It's impossible to say what would have happened had he lived. It's easy enough to see what happened when he died. You're listening to Peacenik at the Beatnik, locally at the Beatnik Cafe in Joshua Tree at 61597 29 Palms Highway, globally at www.beatnikradio.com. My name is Ted Quinn, and we'll be listening to some of the music from those lazy, hazy days of Camelot, when our young president inspired a new generation to embark upon a new frontier